So we decided to take another walk back down to the old abandoned homestead. And last time we were here, I was looking at this thing. There's an old bucket there, but I was looking at this thing and thinking, oh, this must be an old shed. And I had picked up that bumper that Megan has right now. And I'm like, oh, there's a bumper. But she was saying, oh, well, actually, look at this cross piece. This is an old truck bed. And I had looked at these nails here, been like, wow, look at the size of those nails. So this kind of thing here that, it's just, the trees are so thick here, I just hit my head trying to stand up. So this was not a shed. This was the bed to a truck, but it's kind of crazy how it's built out of wood. It's like beams and joists. There's a, looks like some kind of I-beam running along beneath the wood, and then a beam on top of that. Cross piece. That is interesting. Megan pointed out there's old bags of cement on top of it, still sitting on this wood that's growing a lot of moss. It was very big. Megan was hypothesizing it was like military surplus, like an old army truck of some kind.
You see the tire, John?
The tire where?
Over here. Come over here and look at it.
Okay, well then there's a cab right over there.
What do I mean?
And then there's a fender.
The tire is here, and that wheel is
Over
just
there.
enormous.
I think the dogs are finding this interesting.
Yeah, I think the dogs are finding it interesting. Oh, wow. We hadn't seen this before. So look at this wheel and this tire. This is massive. The tire measurements, oh, it just says rugged duty. That's the only thing I can see written on the tire. But maybe if I poke around a little more, I can find more. So we can see that beam supporting the wood goes all the way out here. Okay, it goes beyond it, so if it wasn't the bed to a truck, it could be that this is the frame of a big trailer. So either truck bed or trailer. We got some more like cross members underneath there. Really cool. And then here's that bumper that I had pointed out last time. Megan just picked it up and laid it there. But to show you where this is oriented next to the other things we found, there's I had pointed out that fender and headlight, cab, and door. And back through there was another, that's where there was like the motor and the cab was missing.
And there's a cable that runs probably underneath the ground right here.
So Megan had pulled up some hardware from that spot. We noticed that there's some old lumber in the ground here. And this is the hardware she pulled out of the ground. Might be related to that trailer or truck bed. So here in the moss beneath these trees, we have an old boot sole. And it seems to be an old rubber boot. And the markings on it say size 8. Just says like BB, JB. Maybe the brand is like JB. JB. Huh. We'll have to look into that boot brand. There's some stuff. There's some old box with some electronics components. Looks like some dials, so I'm guessing this was an old radio of some kind. Here's an old chair frame. To situate things, that's the chair frame I pulled up last time, and the wood stove in the old cabin site. Looks like down here we've got an old wheel, old metal wheel. And while I was looking at other things, they discovered there's this old trailer frame here. We can see there, and it goes across and then up. And it's like you can't even see it. I'm stepping right on top of it, but the forest has been growing up over it. Here's the front of it. And down in there is a little ravine that we've never really looked in. Apparently they had ditched some things down in the ravine. I'm going to go look in there in a moment. Oh, there's more stuff. Oops, I'm getting water on myself. Is this just an old metal box here? Oh, it's an old, like, gas can?
I found that last time.
Oh, you found that last time?
Yeah. Mom said it was a gas can or something.
Yeah.
What did you find, Mom?
An old tin can.
Mom found an old tin can.
Okay. There's no shortage of old tin cans around here.
The truck at Quick House, though.
It says... So it is model K5-233, rating 1.5 ton, chassis number, it's hard to see. So we've got this box with a cable. We're wondering if that's a, well, we don't know. We're going to try to open it. I started looking up International K5 trucks as soon as we got home, and I found some information on them. The International K series was mostly made in the early 1940s, heavily to do with World War II. They were followed by the KB series, which started in 1947, but the K series, early 40s, I found this 1941 K5 looks very similar to what we're seeing here in these pictures. And I see the way that the truck bed is makes me think that all the wood we're finding on this truck bed is because it might have looked similar to this one. And I'm thinking that because of the time period and the way that these trucks were used, that this very truck may have been used in Alcan highway construction. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple of minutes.
Oh, because this...
That's the glove box. I didn't open anything.
I opened it.
So then this is like a radio.
Can you open
Yeah,
it? Try and open
thing
it
with
still?
the wire.
Can you still open it?
I guess.
There's a wire right there.
Megan breaks out the multi-tool. You want to
Yeah, I'm just looking at it.
always be prepared. Ooh, does this count as an unboxing? So what's in there? Ah. So this does have to do with heating and ventilation here. It's hard to see. I'm putting the camera because the camera can see where I can't. Can't get my head in there. Okay, I was able to open that up. Maybe that's the control for it. For opening and closing. Okay. Good thing we have a multi-tool. And yeah, it looks like they totally cut off the top of this. There's an old window frame. So yeah, International. I'm at the front of this now. This old truck bed, just so I can see what I can see from the front. Looks like very much like us. They use wired to repair all kinds of things. Now I got out the book written by the guy who was homesteading there when he was a kid in the early 1960s, and in it he talks about using a Cat 22 to drag their pickups through the mud and bogs to their Uncle Mel's homestead. Now, their uncle's homestead was on the other side of the river. So they talk about also driving up a Dodge, a Chevy, and a ford up the Alcan. So it makes me think that this international truck that we're finding is not the trucks that they had, because those would have been across the river. Now I know that this is their homestead because we found children's toys on this side, like this kid's gun. We found Calvert homeschool curriculum, which he talks about using in the book. So we know that this is the homestead they lived at, but the trucks we're finding are not the trucks that they talk about having in the book. We also found this old part of an international logo from one of these trucks, but on this side of the river, they did talk about doing things with vehicles, like they had basically dismantled pickups to use their parts to run lights for their house. They made like a makeshift water wheel that would power lights that they would take off of the vehicles, and that's how they were lighting their house. And in the book, it also mentions selling the homestead in 1969 to somebody from Anchorage who was an investor interested in the timber. Now, I couldn't find any evidence of that in the state recorder's office, but I did find that Benjamin B. Talley sold this property in 1970. Now, whether or not he bought it in 1969 and was that person, I do not know. But I do know that Benjamin B. Talley was the father of military construction in Alaska. And he's probably the kind of guy that would have these surplus old international trucks around. So I don't know if maybe he bought it in 1969, dragged these pickups out there, and then resold it, or if maybe he had been on that site a lot earlier than I'm led to believe by the book. It's really hard to tell, because we do find in the book some of these pieces of pickups that kind of jives with the whole taking them apart to use their lights. Now, I have a drive with a number of old photographs on it, including Alcan construction photographs, and that includes this photo here, where you can clearly see an International K-Series gone off the embankment and they're trying to get it up. And it looks really, really similar to the truck that we're looking at here. It looks like one of these K-Series pickups. The bed looks a little bit longer. Maybe it's like a K6 or something. But to me it seems like if Benjamin Talley at some point after these guys lived at this site, or at least owned it, and maybe he owned it the whole time and just leased it out to these guys. Maybe they were squatting, I don't know. But if Benjamin Talley owned this property, which I can verify, and he was a father of military construction in Alaska, I really do think that there's a high likelihood that this truck we found was used in Alcan construction. Now our next step is to ID and research the other pickup that we found at the homestead. Megan was pointing out that that tree has grown right through the window there. Pretty cool. So there's one barrel here holding up the back end of the flatbed. There's another down here. There's the hole for it. I didn't realize that this is probably just sitting up on barrels. It's got concrete or some, bags of cement back here for traction. Have some extra weight in the back. Megan pointed out there's some nests up in these trees. We don't know what kind they are. But there's also some serious squirrel activity right here on the ground.